What's up everyone, it's Stock Picks by Tim, and I've got a little bit of time before work to get into some crypto and some stocks, some patterns that I'm seeing right now. I did mention this earlier, but I wanted to remind you guys that Voyager is giving their earnings out tomorrow morning, and I will be covering it, so stick around. So it goes without saying that this is definitely going to affect you Voyager stockholders, and it's also likely to affect VGX token. Now another thing is look out for this pattern because we're in a little fight with the bears and the bulls right now, and as of this upload it does look like we might break out of this pattern, so keep an eye on it. Now I'm just watching VGX for now, but I will be putting in some buy orders down in these lower levels, the 50-cent area. I don't think we're going to come much lower than that, but it does of course depend on where regulation takes us, and it depends on where Bitcoin goes. But looking at Bitcoin, we are now pushing 31,000, and we've been finding this as a resistance lately, and it might be the case again. We are pretty overbought on the RSI. I'd argue that it has to come down a bit. Maybe we'll just kind of trade in this 30,800 range before we can actually break out of it. But I want to see that RSI more neutral when we're near this zone so we can actually break past it. I think people are going to be profit taking just because we're too overbought on the RSI. Now once we do break from 31,000 to the upside, we need to break 32,000, specifically 32,500, and then that can take us to about 35,000. We don't really have any other resistant points, because if you guys remember when Bitcoin was selling off from almost 40,000, it dropped from 40,000, hovered around 35, dropped from there relatively quickly to about 32,000, and then just started falling even more. So I do see this 32,000 area as a resistance, and once we pass that, we can likely push 35 and onward. But you're gonna have to keep a close eye on Bitcoin. That's gonna dictate where altcoins are gonna go. And as I've said before, right now I see Bitcoin as the best thing to add to while we're kind of in this bearish market. But before you know it, things will flip and people will get greedy all over again, and the cycle will continue. It has always been best to buy during the fear, and now is no different. But let me know down below in the comments what you guys are looking for in cryptos. And next up, let's look at a couple of stocks. Now I'm going to look at a few large caps. And first off, we're going to look at Apple. Now you'll see this blue trend line, and this goes back quite a ways. We did have about 140 as our support. We broke out of 140 almost a year ago, and we haven't seen under that since. Now, if we do break 140, I think it will be great for a breakout trade to the downside. Just get in, get out, and scalp it. Now, looking at Apple long term, I think it's good to nibble at now, but I do want to see it come down closer to 140 before I would start buying. And as for short term, like I said, if we break 140, it is great for a breakout trade to the downside. And here's another stock I'm very bullish on for the long term, however somewhat bearish on short term. And that's going to be PayPal, PYPL, and this one has been kind of in a resistance. We had a false breakout here, and now it looks like we're turning around. We're kind of near overbought, and it does look like the MACD is about to curl, but just watch for this one. We might break out of this though. If the overall market does turn around, if tech starts coming back up, we might break out of this, and this can push PayPal back up. But looking at this from a long-term perspective, I'm pretty shocked, honestly, that's under $80. I think under $80 is an extreme deal, and personally, even under $100, I think is good for averaging in. And a lot of people are sleeping on the fact that Venmo and Amazon are going to be partnering up pretty soon. And Venmo is a company that's part of PayPal, by the way. But they're going to integrate Venmo on Amazon's platform, and I think this will bring PayPal a lot of money. And this is a huge thing that was actually talked about in their earnings, and a lot of people are sleeping on this. No one really is talking about this right now, but I think it's something you need to consider when looking at PayPal. I think this is going to be a huge deal moving forwards for them, and it's expected by the end of this year. Now another large cap I see great opportunity in is AMD, Advanced Micro Devices stock. And as I've said before, I see it as a great time to add while it's under 100, and their earnings actually just came out, and I'll leave you guys a link below to that. But they had a great earnings, they gave a good outlook too, so I'm personally adding this one heavily while it's under $100. And I do short term expect $100 to be a resistance point, so keep an eye on it. Once we do break from 100, it could be great for a call to just scalp it and move to the upside, move to a quick like 103, 104, and take that money and run. But that's just a good short term move to do. Now long term, I definitely see this as a great time to add to. I'm very bullish on AMD. And honestly, I'm bullish on semiconductors as a whole. I also love Indie. That's another company you guys should really look into. They just gave earnings and they gave great forward guidance. Another one with good revenue. It does seem like semiconductors are turning around. This semiconductor shortage does seem to be easing, and that's great. That's it for you today. Now let me know in the comments below what you're looking out for this week. Thanks as always, guys, and see you next time.